Hi guys, and Tony Lacey from the Lacey's Ranch. Tony, thanks for coming in. Guys, today we are going to talk about what to look after when picking up the surplus rifle. And we starting off with the basic Mosin PU sniper. Why? Because it is probably the most approachable at this point with the price.
Approachable for the real thing or approachable for a mock-up that like Century did and others did?
Sure. Well, I would encourage everyone to kind of try to get original.
Yes.
Something, and there are two reasons for this. First of all, probably with the original, you're not going to lose on the value with it. And the second thing, I have seen some fake PU snipers, and they maybe are okay shooters, but I have seen some horribly done with the wrong screws, things mounts falling apart, and I wouldn't go that way. You're spending, it is not that much of a difference between the, I shouldn't say fake, because some people are setting up them as a to participate in the competitions, and the real thing. I would rather go with the real thing. You're paying, you will be in the neighborhood of $1,000, $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 already. Why not to go
with this,
the real thing? And if you need the really guide into what to look for to separate the fake ones from the real ones, I will give you the link in the video description to the Alex blog. He's got a fantastic section about the PU snipers, and he will let you to iron out how to spot the fake. But today, Tony, let's focus on what to look specifically from the hardware point of view on the rifle.
The first thing you want to do on the Mosins series, especially if you want to make sure it's real, is you got to find the CH on the if it's a Tula, the CH on the barrel shank. If it's a Ishavek, then you got to find the scope number along the left side of the shank. And then of course you got to look at everything, the mount and everything. And I hate to even go in and try to get in that deep on.
No.
But just look at it. If it looks legit,
you can, like as I said again, on Alex blog, you got the really good pictures for each type of the mount. And really, by looking at them, you can immediately spot the reproductions, and it will stand out. Also, the scopes. I'm happy that you said this about the scope numbers on the shank. Very often, those won't match what you have on the mount and on the side of the rifle. And this is kind of normal too, because often those rifles went through the refurbishment at some stage, so this may not be matching. But if the scope is original, mount is original, to be honest with you, Tony, I don't care. I don't care. Now, however, with that, you have to be aware that probably you will have to do some adjusting on the mount to have basically scope set in center, because all those mounts, like if you will look from this side, you can separate the upper mount with the scope from the base from the rifle, and you got the adjustments for on the scope left and right. But if you want the scope perfectly centered with the reticle perfectly centered, you got two options. So we can either shim the mount away from the side mount to gain that distance to center the scope, or you will have to file.
One or the other. That takes care of your windage.
That's take care of the windage. For the elevation, we don't worry, because we have two screws on the side mount which are pushing the mount either up or down, and that will take care of the elevation. Now, for the scope to be, Tony, if you could hold it, I want to kind of show them, and I'll probably paint the picture, but like if you look through the scope, you want to have that reticle in the upper third portion when you are at the 100. Now, Tony, the elevation marks on the bullet drop compensation marks on the turret most likely won't match. And because we're using a different type of the ammo from what these were calibrated for, so again, the way I'm zeroing it, and there are two schools. Some people zero at 0 mark. Some people zero those scopes at the 1 mark.
That's what I do.
That's what I do too, and we always go from there. But then you gotta build on your dope card.
Yes.
Now that being said, if you look at the scope and you don't have any rounds yet, you're not shooting, you're just thinking about purchasing that rifle. So what I like to do is I take, if you got the caps, I like to take the caps off. I close the bolt, of course, make sure there's no live round, and I look at the light source and I look through the scope and I try to be steady and I squeeze the trigger and I watch if the reticle jumps.
Moves.
Because if the reticle jumps, that's your first giveaway. Something is happening
wrong. And the other thing to look for, either through yourself or have somebody do it, move your elevation turret, and then while you're looking through the scope, and then move your windage turret. Some of these scopes, when you do the windage, it will adjust the elevation.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and that doesn't mean it can't be fixed.
But it will cost you.
Yeah, depending on what you're paying.
So another thing, speaking about the turrets, if you have, like, you start spinning the turret, but the reticle is not moving. It's not moving up, or it's not moving left or right. That giveaway, there is something wrong with the mechanism. Those PU scopes are extremely simple to work on. However, the moment we go into the mechanism with which we're talking about the screw and the housing for the screw, this is pretty much dead. You will have to do some hard reworking of the inside guts to get that repaired. And
one thing we probably didn't make it clear: these scopes, if you're used to modern scopes, they are not self-centering. So you can actually see the reticle move left, right, up and down inside the scope. So if you're used to modern scopes, nothing is wrong with that.
Yes,
nothing is wrong.
Yes, the reticle will travel, like literally it's a screw driven. That's why I said screws, because for the windage and for the elevation, the reticle travels on the screw up and down or left and right. But assuming everything is fine with the scope, you pass the smell test. And the next thing which I look always is check the bore and what is happening with the chamber. I like to have a view. If you have a bore scope, they got really nice bore scopes. You can plug them into the telephone and see. Don't get scared too. Don't get scared. And I will go back to this 1903 at some point. We'll talk about it. This rifle does not have a good bore, and it shoots below 1 MOA. So bore may not look great, and these are old rifles, guys. Don't get scared. If there is a rifling in it, there is a hope that it will shoot. Tony, you got anything to add?
Well, I would tell you, whether you're buying a regular Mosin gun or a sniper, especially on a sniper if you're paying a lot more money for it, look down that bore. What I find stopping in gun stores and everything else is the Russians took care of them. The people that bought them when they first came in did not, because the corrosive ammo, there's numerous Mosins running around out there right now that have been ruined because they fired corrosive ammo, never cleaned it.
Yep. And, speaking about that, guys, it's perfectly fine to shoot the surplus ammo, but always assume it's corrosive. Always clean after the shooting, and by cleaning I mean mainly run the warm or hot water through the chamber, clean up the bolt. Why? Because the water dissolves salts. That's it. So you may think, you hear some people, oh, I'm using the chemicals for... No, water. You need to clean it with the water first, then you can whatever do, the lubricate or whatever. But the water works like magic, it dissolves the salts.
The classic is the hops. Hops will take care... Hops won't.
No,
you just happen to live in an environment where it's not...
like we are in Missouri, it's a very humid environment. Like literally, if you won't clean it within the 24 hours after the shooting corrosive, you will start seeing the rust. It's a surface rust, still cleanable, but it will start.
And let's talk about the muzzle, crown.
The crown.
Yeah, always look any surplus rifle that you buy. Take a look at that crown up there. you know, in service or after service, if it's got a large ding in there, or I'm not really opposed to counter bores.
No, if the
they're done
counter board
correctly.
was done correctly, the rifle will shoot.
Yeah, and you know, collector-wise, it may get frowns, but we're talking shooters here. But take a look at that crown. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't be fixed pretty easy, but it might be a negotiating point.
Again, every fixes you will do, and like redoing a crown will affect everyone will see, okay, the crown was redone. So you are risking basically that if you will be reselling this rifle, someone will use this
Yeah.
against you, and they will tell you, well, you have redone the crown. So that may affect the value. Another thing what I like to look at religiously is the action screws. This is especially for shooting on all rifles. Mosins, Lee's, Lee Enfields, any rifle with the action screws, you gotta check if they are tight, if they are sitting tight. I had Mosin PU snipers, I kid you not, I purchased and the whole stock was moving,
Yes.
you know, with the action. So no matter how good the bore is, no matter how not used chamber is, and no matter how good the optic is, if you have that movement, forget it.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any results. And then, of course, once you purchase the rifle, you can shim it, probably the action. Some really good shim kits are being sold.
Brian
Sells the outstanding shim kits for the Mosins, very affordable, laser cut shims, and that works like a magic. And you will see the difference with the shims.
Yes, and let me cover this point with. Now, all these rifles, not so much with the Gram, but with the bolt action rifles of World War II, World War I, free floating is a pretty new thing. These guns were not free floating.
Amen.
And they were not. That's not what they were going for at all. They wanted upper pressure right up here at the
on the bends.
right at the front. Now the barrels were usually free floated up until that certain point. And I think it's usually 3 to 5 pounds, 6 pounds, depending on the gun. But you know, use your shims to get that.
To set up that pressure.
Yeah.
It's an excellent point, and this goes for everything. This goes for US-made guns, the 1903 or 1917 made on a license, but also for the Lee Enfields, the Mausers. You really have to pay attention to it. But
Yes.
I think that's the separate episode.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said this, Tony, because that magic of applying the pressure, don't be scared of the pressure. It doesn't have to be, the free floating is a new thing.
Yeah.
Like you said, this rifle will shoot very well with the pressure. I use very often on the Mosins, I use wrappers.
Yeah.
I use the wrappers, and then I have that consistent pressure on the upper handguard and on the band between, like wrapper goes literally from here to here, something like this, and I'm having outstanding results.
And the thing about it, with these skinny type barrels, if you do free float them,
Oh,
probably at least 50% of the time it's going to go to crap.
you have to see the whip. You know, unfortunately, I don't have a slow motion camera enough to capture, but this barrel whips. It's a long barrel, and the profile of the barrel becomes thinner as farther as it goes. So that barrel whips. So you, with the free float, I don't know, like maybe someone, I bet you some booba tried to cut out the lower handguard and nothing here, and I don't know how it will shoot. That will be interesting to see. If someone wants to sacrifice the Mosin, let us know. All right. But we will move away from the PU sniper. Great starting point.
Yes.
Great starting point, and it will set you right away.
And let me say one more thing about the Mosin. Because we do the vintage sniper shoots, you can be just as competitive
Oh, absolutely.
with this gun right here as the Swedes or any of the other. They shoot, guys. They shoot. And the other thing about a surplus rifle, don't think that you ain't going to have to do something to it. Because when these came out of the Ukraine or wherever they got them out of, they've been sitting for what?
Oh my gosh, a lot of years.
Yeah, a lot of years. And don't think that time is not worked on.
The scopes too are not bad at all. Those scopes work. The PU scopes very, very rigid. Is it the best glass on the market? No, but it will do that for basic competition shooting, it will work
Yep.
perfectly. All right, let's go. Let's switch to the workhorse, workhorse on the American side. And this is the iron sights, 1903, not the 1903 A3 or A4. It's just basic 1903. Yes, with
A1,
with the improved stock, with C stock. But the one thing which I quickly discovered is I was always focusing because you can find those, but finding them in the nice shootable condition, it takes a challenge. Yeah. So I always look into the board and kind of didn't even pay attention to the iron sights, and I snatched that one. I ran back home and then starting paying more attention. Like, holy cow, the rear sights are wiggling, and that's going to be a problem. The front post is wiggling. That's going to be a problem. This is going to affect your accuracy, right? Mm-hmm. It's nothing to do with the board, with the rifle. If sights are moving, you're not going to hit a thing. So simple tricks to how to fix some of the wiggling, Tony. You can push.
Yes, you can tap, tighten up the gap right here between the back. Sometimes the worn out gear
is worn out.
It's worn out. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the small screw right here that holds your elevation
is loose and it will jump.
The other thing I like to do with all my 03s is the front sight height comes in 5 different sizes. Go ahead, for whatever ammo that you're shooting, set it at 200 and get it set. And that way you can just follow the numbers most of the time, close to it.
Speaking about the front post, again, because it has like that wedge and it's like a rail sliding, you have to sometimes press in that base to apply more pressure, so this is not wiggling. There is a set screw in the front of the front post, but that not always does the job. I mean, you'll be tight on the set screw and your sight will be moving left and right. So you may have to apply put it into the vise and squeeze it a little bit and eliminate that movement. That's extremely very easy to spot. Usually it will move with the finger. You want to eliminate that. Let me go back for a second to the rear sight. Another thing what you can do, because even by tapping and adjusting everything, and there is still some movement on those sides, especially like if you extend to that position and they like to wiggle left and right. On this, if my memory serves well, I had to shim it. Yeah. So I put the shims underneath, gain it upper pressure, and it stays still, and I'm whacking at 700 yards with the iron sights just like that. The rifle works beautifully.
Can I tell a shooting story?
Yes, sir.
All right, down at CMP at Anniston, I've got it's a beautiful Mark 1 that I bought from the CMP. And of course I shot it a little bit before I went down there, but I find out on the line that it's going left and right on me. It happens. It happens. Even if you know what you're doing, it happens.
That's what I'm saying. Like immediately, like you have to start paying attention to the basics, because there may be nothing wrong with the barrel, with the action screws. The rifle is beautiful and it has an outstanding board. And my God, those rifles can shoot.
Yes.
Tony, those rifles, like I'm amazed by the 1903. I think it was outstanding. Simple bolt action rifle. I absolutely love it.
I've been saying it for years. We tend to put the Finnish, the Swiss, and the Swede rifles up on a pedestal. Folks, we had it right here in the United States. These 1903 or 1903 A3 will run with anything out there.
And they are extremely, what we did to the Mauser action, because it is a Mauser action, I think the tweaks, or I would say improvement, but tweaks and everything, how it was designed, I absolutely love it. With this type of the sights, they are great target shooting sights.
Yeah, combat.
But every time when you got those screws, multiple screws on it, and something moves, I'm like, whoa, boy, this is not going. This is not the greatest combat sight. But it's great for the range trips and competition. If you have a nice 1903, there is nothing out there what will stop you from kicking people's ass with that rifle in a competition.
Yes.
Really, Unless you are a horrible shot. Like, but this rifle can deliver. And don't feel intimidated by the Swedes, by the Finnish rifle. This rifle has enough juice to stand up on its own. That's not even the question. Other than this, we basically covered the action screws and the simple stuff. It applies to that rifle too. Now the big daddy.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, Tony, this is the M1C version, and I'm actually happy that we selected that one for the video, because this is from my Crayon Eaters friends, and the rifle's got the beat up stock.
Yep.
So bore is very good, the scope is and mount is staying put on the rifle, but it doesn't have to be a sniper Garand. It could be an ordinary Garand too.
Yep.
But the rifle won't shoot well. Why is not shooting well?
Well, sadly, the Garand, not sadly, but unfortunately the Garand depends on the lockup between the trigger guard and the action right here. Okay, these stocks have shrunk over time. And Rob and I have been messing with this a little bit. The fix for this guy is really going to be a new stock. This stock, either you would have to bet it, which is illegal per CMP rules. So you would almost have to stay legal, get a new stock. Keep this stock that has the markings and everything else. Set it to the side. Get the new DePage or Boyd's or whoever you want to get. And you may have to do just a little bit of fitting. But you want that lockup on these Garands.
As tight as possible.
Yeah, whether it be a regular M1 or the M1C or D. Because without it, at what you saying, at 300 yards you were tagging?
Yes, 350. I was absolutely, like, I was checking. I thought maybe we can use that rifle in one of the war episodes. Tony's coming. Hey, perfect opportunity to have a real counter sniper and work that. But I was verifying at the open. I noticed that I'm walking up and down at 350 yards, and I tried to rescue this stock. I tried to shim it as much as I could. You tried to, and it always beats us.
Yeah.
So it's time for the new stock. I'll keep the stock, original stock, for it, but because I'm a trigger puller first, before the collector. So I'll put the new stock for the shooting, and we'll go from there. But this not ends the tight or loose fitment of the stock on the Garand. That's a one thing. Tony, I want to talk about the front end of the business, because very often people have problems with the cycling on the Garand. And I quickly discovered most of the problems could be traced back when they putting the rifle together, gas system together, they missed the hole. And if the hole in the barrel is misaligned, guess what? The gas is not coming back. So you're losing a gas, and then the rifle, the easiest way to spot this is short cycling. So it may move, but it's not enough to pull out the shell and kick out and load the new one. So that's the dead giveaway. Like, I would say, I immediately, if someone is contacting me, hey, my Garand is not cycling. Did you took the rifle apart? Yes. Okay. Did you put everything exactly as it was? No. So pay attention. You can put some marks on the barrel. I don't know. Like, I always pay attention, and I look how the stuff is done before I take it apart. But make some reference marks, take a picture with your phone so you know exactly where you are at. But also, usually you got the gap when you're putting that front end and closing with the gas plug, and if there is a gap because that front post suddenly is pushed more to the rear, and you are pulling the front post with your gas plug now threads, and that gap is, you still got the gap, I can almost guarantee you, you're going to have the issues with the gas. What about the front handguard? Is the loose front handguard big concern to you, Tony?
Okay, it is a little bit. This one right here is getting close to being worrisome, but apparently it's still shooting all right with it. And you know, you control that fit between the gas cylinder holding it in and the mount right here, or lower, or that'd be the lower band. But that one's getting close. Now on a national match,
This
is not going to move.
No.
They're usually going to take screws, screw into it, hold it tight. But then you can't touch it.
Well, this is probably illegal for the CMP again, but I have seen some shims, and the people were putting the shims between this piece and the handguard, and that put enough pressure to lock it in the position. But I think per CMP book that will be illegal. So you're kind of screwed. It is what the CMP is extremely strict on what you can do, what you cannot.
If I can tell another story, we both have a good buddy, Bill Fairless, who just this past week at the Oklahoma games with an M1C with a Smith Kollmorgen scope.
That's a 4-power scope.
Yeah, 4-power Marine scope, real scope. Shot a clean score. He shot 100 points at 300 yards and 100 points at 600 yards. And I can tell you, Bill has been working on that gun. He's got everything legal. I'd hate to say, I think he's tried at least 20 stocks on it to get that lockup and to get that kind of accuracy out of it.
So, what Tony is saying, if you are building a gun for the CMP match or buying a gun for a CMP match, unfortunately, you gotta go through probably multiple stocks before you will find the one which matches exactly with your metal components, steel components, and locks in correctly. If you are just a shooter and doing this for your own pleasure, probably bedded, glass bedded, or shim it. Either way. But the key to the accuracy with the Garand would be to lock the stock. I mean, you cannot keep moving because again, it doesn't matter how good the barrel is. It doesn't matter how solid the mount is in the scope. If the stock moves within the receiver moves within the stock, you're done.
Should we talk about expectations?
Absolutely.
With the M1 Garand, even like Bill's is probably shooting a solid 1.5 MOA every day. Now, if you think you're going to get one of these or a Russian PU that's going to shoot with the latest Remington 700, bull barrel, everything else, it's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. Now, some of these will come close, especially with hand loads, but you got to have reasonable expectations. If you can hold a minute and a half at MOA, the vintage sniper, or the CMP vintage sniper, you can win it.
I honestly think so. Like if I'm in the neighborhood below 2 MOA on the Garand, or M1D, M1C, I'm okay with it. Like it is, I like to be close to 1.5, 1.6 if possible, but with this I can work. On the PU snipers, to be honest with you, I like to be right above the 1 MOA because 1. You can 1.1, 1.2 because you can expect more from those rifles. But I totally agree. Even with the 1.5, 1.6, even with 2 MOA rifle guys, if we shooting on a CMP, if you can hold that 2 MOA to 600 yards, you are going to win. Or you're going to stay very competitive. In your matches, in the vintage sniper, steel sniper matches, it gets a little bit dicey because further we go, those targets shrink. But still, with 2 MOA, if you would think about it, even at 700 yards, that's 14 inches spread, assuming you caught the wind perfectly and your dope is correct. So even with that 14 inches, you can work on it. And there are limits on the 2.5 power scope on most of the M1Ds or M1Cs, unless you got the Kollmorgen, but the PU 3.5, right? Or we're going to the Enfields 3. Unless you got the Germans 4 power, but usually we're staying below the 4 power, so it's a still decent shot. But you got the chance with the 2 MOA rifle. So basic overview, we went over the basic systems, basic pointers. Hopefully this will help you out, guys, to look for when you're picking up the new old rifle. Tony, one more question: is it worth it to invest into the gauges? Barrel gauges and the muzzle throat gauges?
Well, I think this is a prime example. This one is about in the medium range, still shoots fine.
And this is, I want you to say this, but this was the same thing with the 1903. The 1903 is kind of on that worn out point,
Yep.
but it shoots beautiful. I mean, you can be consistent at the 700
Yep.
yards. I mean, what else you can ask with iron sights?
Yep.
Consistent at 700 yards? Outstanding. Tony, thank you very much.
Well.
Hey, excellent pointers. And guys, hopefully you learned something new. If you have any questions, me and Tony will be watching
Yep.
the comments under this video and we'll try to help you. We are still learning. This is not, all we saying here is from our experience. So that's not like, you know, I want to blow the smoke into your eyes.
We do not claim to be professional gunsmiths.
That is, yes, no, it's just from our observations. And this is, I want to, you know, we could talk on this subject for hours.
Oh, man.
But who would watch that video then, all right? That being said, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for being with us. It's always an honor to be in your house. Tony, one more time. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
See you.